Views and opinions of the show are not those of the staff and management of WFLT. Good morning, Mayor. You are live on the air.
Good morning. Good morning. I'd like to welcome all the listeners to WFLT 1420, best in gospel music, and also good talk radio from 9 until 9:30 every single Saturday. We've been doing this broadcast for about 8 years now, bringing you good information. And one thing about it is that good information is healthy for the soul, healthy for the mind, and healthy for our community. Now, I serve as your mayor, but we definitely want to make sure that we always honor God in everything that we do. And so this morning, I'll be offering a prayer. We have a great show with Dr. Furholden, Dr. Reynolds, our police chief, Terrence Green, and also we have Jerry, a special guest on our radio broadcast with us this morning. But if all hearts and minds are clear, I would ask for a special prayer for the Furlow family and the loss of Eric Furlow, Flint Northern Viking. A lot of hearts are heavy, but this COVID reality is still real. People are still perishing as it relates to this COVID-19 and its variants. And so it's time to mask up again. It's time to make sure we do the right things. And so for all those who have lost their lives, that we know we have to champion their memories by saving our lives. And so if all hearts and minds are clear, dear Heavenly Father, we petition your throne once again, saying thank you for all the blessings that you have in our lives. Please, Father God, place your angels around us, angels of protection for our families and our friends, Father God. Father God, give us the wisdom and understanding. Father God, allow us to commune together, work together, and stand together, Father God, and move our community forward and our nation forward. Of all like hearts and minds, we say amen. So with that being said, we talk about this COVID virus and this deadly variance is coming through, and more people are still dying. So Dr. Reynolds, do you want to talk a little bit about where we are and what's going on with the COVID virus?
Well, we are still in a worldwide pandemic, and it has not gone away. So despite the pronouncements of others, we still have a long way to go to get through this. And one of the reasons is that the vaccine gives us protection, and it is the fundamental backbone of protection. On the backbone of vaccine, we do those other things like wear masks, wash our hands, maintain social distancing. Those are the other layers of protection that are so important when we're in this ever-changing circumstance where we get these variants. The Delta variant, as it is called, is different than the first, the Alpha variant, the first one that came to the U.S. So now this Delta variant is more transmissible. That means it spreads more easily. And that puts our children under 12 at risk. It puts our immunocompromised family members and neighbors at risk. It puts people who have had organ transplants at risk. And so that's why it's so important for us to get vaccinated still, because the vaccine reduces the risk of severe illness, hospitalization, and deaths. And I was looking at some statistics this morning for hospitalized patients with COVID. Only 1.6% were those who were fully vaccinated. 98.4% of the people hospitalized in the state of Michigan were unvaccinated. So it's most important that we get vaccinated.
Right now, we have Dr. Furholden here with us as well. As we talk about, people merging, regulations are lifting as it relates to this. People are not wearing masks as frequently. People are gathering in social settings. movie theaters and all things are opening back up now with this new, more deadly variants of it, of the COVID. Um, we talk about these things. And so, Dr. Furholder, tell us a little bit about what we can do because our vaccination rates, we should not stop getting vaccinated. If you have not been vaccinated, please get your vaccination. And one of the things about it is I never thought I would see a day where we have a deadly virus, a pandemic such as we have, and people refusing to or not going to get vaccinated, and then we have to offer money or rewards up to $1 million for a vaccination to incentivize a vaccination. The incentive alone should be the protection of your life and your family. And if you know anybody, and I'm sure we all know someone who passed away from this deadly virus. And so, Dr. Ferldon, can you talk a little bit about where we are?
Yeah, the thing with this, Dr. Reynolds was touching on it. We have to continue to protect ourselves. And we always knew prevention was our best measure. And I know people don't really want to hear this, but we do need to be masking up. I always said it. I know people wanted to get back to a return to normal, but I just said there's just so much that we still don't know until we know and can say that we've got this thing under control. We have to continue to mask. So I think what you're seeing is a lot of the major institutions are now putting requirements in place, requiring that people be masked when they're indoors, requiring that people be vaccinated in order to be on site. What I really want to encourage people to do is get information. I think there are a lot of people who sort of are still on the fence about the vaccine because they see things come out, they hear about some of the negative effects. They don't realize that the positive effects are far outweighed, and the benefits far outweigh. Like Dr. Reynolds said, the lion's share of hospitalized cases and death cases are people who are unvaccinated. And so I just think people have to just keep doing the work, getting their questions answered. But we're going to be seeing a kind of reversion to more of what we had at this time last year.
Right, and one of the things is that the enemy always sneaks up on you. If tactically, when you look at things, the element of surprise, and so we're getting caught with our eyes wide open. We've seen hundreds of thousands of people die in our country because of this virus, and now our eyes are wide open, and the scientists and the medical professionals are telling us once again that this new variant, which is more transmittable, is here. And our eyes are wide open, and we're still walking and engaging as if it's not amongst us. And so we cannot get caught by surprise if we're prepared. We got to get prepared, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm going to continue to do the things that's necessary, leading you from this municipality, doing the things that's saving lives. I've also put a mandate back into City Hall that all workers are to wear masks in City Hall. Unless they're stationary at their workstation, away from people, then they can remove their mask. But in walking through the hallways, walking through their work area, they have to wear masks, and I put that mandate forward. I'm getting ready to bring back in screening for employees, and we also have computer screening for people with the symptoms. And so with these new variants, we have to make sure we do everything necessary to save lives. Dr. Reynolds has been on staff with the City of Flint for about a year now, being able to provide us good recommendations. And so we have masks at City Hall. If you need masks, come to City Hall. If you need a level of, when you come in to pay your water bill, if you want to sanitize your hands, mask, you can, that's also provided for you. The walk-up window is still available for you. Now, it's easy to get intoxicated with emotion, right? But people are all talking about these hostile things going on. If you just listen maybe through the broadcast day of WFLT on Saturday, you see people fueled by anger, hate, malice, greed, envy, and a lot of those other things. But what we have to do is make sure that we do the necessary things to protect ourselves and our families. A vaccination for young people 12 and under. We don't have that just together just yet to be able to provide those adolescents or those young people with the vaccines. School is getting ready to reactivate. Teachers are going to be there. Other principals, administrators. We have to do what we need to do to protect them. Now, speaking of that, protection, and we're going to shift just a bit here. Now the City of Flint is under another emergency. The COVID emergency is still amongst us. I declared another emergency, which was just extended by the City Council this past Wednesday in an 8-hour meeting. And that was one of the smaller and shorter meetings that they have had on an average. I extended a gun emergency. If you live inside the City of Flint, there's no question about it. that you know violence is high. Violence is high all across the country. Our President Biden has declared a gun violence alert throughout our country. We have declared a gun violence emergency inside the city of Flint, bringing all tools to bear to make sure that we're safe in our homes. If you live in the city of Flint, it's not uncommon to hear gunfire in the middle of the night or the middle of the day, and so it's no stranger to us where we are. And so for us to go through an 8-hour meeting, and I'm very appreciative of the city council members that voted to the affirmative of this, but for those who voted against it or did not vote at all, we ought to take a very serious look at that, because we know that we're amongst a gun emergency. And on the line with us is Chief Terrence Green, who's been engaging, battling back the element of crime in our community. Good morning, Chief Green.
Good morning.
Good morning. I think I lost one of our people. I'm not for sure. So, Dr. Reynolds, are you still with us?
I'm
Pardon me? Okay.
still here.
Okay. Jerry, are you still there? Okay, I must have lost Jerry. Okay, I'll get her back. But Chief Green, tell us where we are with this gun violence emergency.
Well, right now we're just organizing some of the wraparound services that will be included with our services, will included with the police department, especially regarding the emergency response teams that will be responding to critical incidents within the city of Flint. So we're organizing those wraparound services, social workers, mental health specialists, things of that nature.
Okay. And so, Chief, I know we declared this emergency, and you have been engaging with the officers. I'm having trouble with Jerry, but you've been engaging with some officers and trying to get us better coverage throughout the city. And can you talk a little bit about some of our plans? And we come together with some executive orders, and you've been a part of the construction of those executive orders. And I'll tell residents what those executive orders are here shortly. But go ahead. Chief.
Well, currently we just basically continue to be very proactive. We're dealing with crime, but being very careful, making sure we follow the rule of law. Also, we're following up on complaints by citizens, major complaints of lawlessness within the city of Flint. We have several initiatives that we have activated in order to be proactive. While at the same time, we're continuing to partner with our community organizations, Man Up program, Returning Citizens, programs like that. We're partnering with them. We have a strong partnership with those organizations, as well as neighborhood associations and other community-oriented associations also. But we've also procured some innovative technology and specialized equipment to also be proactive and assist with this. So we're covering this with everything possible. Basically, our attitude is we're going to hit crime with everything we have by, again, following the rule of law. And hopefully we can break this. The ultimate goal is to break this cycle of violence, because we are in a gun crisis within the city of Flint.
Right. The declaration of emergency, I know people say, what does that do? What happens with that? There's a level of resources that's necessary to be able to engage crime, especially on an emergency level. When the declaration of emergency is made, it releases the opportunity for additional fundings to come in from our county, state, and federal government. So therefore, we don't have to fight crime with just the resources that we have or the limited amount of resources that we have. It brings all tools to bear. It brings in additional resources and money. And also, Chief Green, congratulations on receiving a big grant from the strategic fund from the state of Michigan to be able to engage more surveillance cameras and different things of that nature was awarded to the city of Flint upon the announcement of our emergency. Also, we're bringing other resources in from the county level and also the state level. But that's the importance of when a declaration of an emergency is made, we get the resources that we need to be able to battle back against these things. You know, it was just a little over a year ago or so. A young man, 3 years old, Messiah Williams, laid in his bed when the horrifying thing, a nightmare happened. When the people pulled up and pushed 67 rounds, bullets into their home. Young Messiah was struck in the back of the head, dying. And so now we talk about gun violence and how it rips families apart and the devastating things that it does to families. On the line with us now is Messiah's grandmother. Jerry, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yep. And so, you know, I want to thank you for engaging the city council meeting in that 8-hour meeting when we talked about this gun violence emergency and asking the city council to extend the emergency. I think it was your phone call that was put into position for you to describe what you and your family went through, and you know, it pushed it over the top to get some affirmative votes. It wasn't a unanimous vote from the city council. You know, two votes and one person was not there to participate in this vote in this very serious thing when it's an emergency. But I think it was your phone call that actually made those in the majority vote for the gun violence emergency to get us additional resources and get Chief Green the tools that he needs to keep our community safe. Did you want to speak to that, Jerry?
Yes, the people that live in the city of Flint definitely need protection from whatever this is that's going on, and they need to come together with the police, with the mayor, with the city council. I know there's so many other things going on too, but my biggest thing is I just never, ever, ever want another family to have to go through what we've gone through. And it's awful that we had to go through it to get here, but we've always been active in our community, and the community needs to come together. I know that there's not a whole lot of police in the city of Flint. They can't keep up with everything that's going on. But even if you see something and you want to report it, keep a journal, write down license plate numbers, you know, just keep a log. Eventually the police will get to you, and having your memory work for you is not as good as keeping a log. Just write down what you see, grab a notebook and keep it, because crime happens around every single person in the city of Flint. Just write it down and get back with the police, work with your police, call it in. I know it's the 911 operators are probably overwhelmed and everything, but just report it and help your police, work with your police. You see a police at the gas station, let them know. Whatever you got to do. There's also the Crime Stoppers that you can call and tell them. Tell your story to anybody. I tell my story about Messiah to anyone and everyone that will listen, because we really want to pass Messiah's law. And I just tell everyone my story, no matter how hard it is to repeat. And I know living through crime is not easy, but everyone needs to participate and join in. It wasn't very easy for me to call in and talk to city council and relive my story for them, but it's very important for the next family, because I know that Mayor Neely is working to help protect his city. I've seen that firsthand when he jumped in and helped me. And people are there, they're just overwhelmed. So just keep telling your story. Like I say, keep a journal, do whatever you got to do to participate in your city. We can win it back and we can bring it back. It takes all of us, and it takes resources. And if you have to ask for resources, then we have to do that. And I was very impressed that the mayor reached out to do what he had to do. It was my pleasure to.
Yep, I think I lost you a little bit there, Jerry. But Messiah's Law, as you mentioned, what Messiah's Law is that there's 4 bills working its way through our capital, our state capital. It was introduced by State Representative Cynthia Neely and a few of her colleagues. It's a bipartisan bill package speaking to about the drive-by shootings that goes on inside of communities inside the state of Michigan. So Messiah's Law really speaks to that if you shoot into an occupied dwelling or vehicle where it harms a child, the penalties are stiffer for those individuals. It was a few years back where our police chief, Chief Green, talked about this when he was the Mount Morris police chief there, but now it's come to fruition. The bills are working its way through, and the bills have been named Messiah's Law. And so we've seen young people become gun violence victims as early as 10 months of age. Our children is our most precious asset. And if we lose our assets, what does that say about us as a society? We know it says it takes a village to raise a child, but it also takes a village to save a village. And so, you know, as we continue to talk about Messiah's Law, as we're moving forward, you know, in our society, it takes all of us to come together, because the people who are committing these crimes are sometimes our neighbors, our friends, our family members. But it's going to take all of us to be able to push back against this violent reality. And so let me go quickly through some of the executive orders that in which I have put in position, so you understand, so people won't misrepresent what this is. Because sometimes, you know, and you hear this all the time, and when we watch these dysfunctional type of engagements where people have a level of discourse where it does not serve any of us in this community. But now we have many things in front of us. We have a deadly virus, COVID-19 and its variants. We have a gun violence emergency, and we have to push back against it. So with the cooperation of our partners, Chief Green and other law enforcement agencies, Executive Order 1 talks about the putting together and building what I call an emergency response team. Emergency response team, ERT. When an officer hits the scene, it's very challenging for an officer to hit the scene where you have high tensions, high emotions, anger, sadness, grief, a cocktail of things going on when an officer hits the scene when you have a gun violence erupts in communities. That officer then has to become a social worker, a psychologist, a child advocate, a resource coordinator, a clergyman. It's just overwhelming for these patrol officers to be able to handle that scene alone once they arrive in a high tense moment. They're police officers to protect and serve. So the ERT team is composed of a psychologist, sociologist, child care advocate, resource coordinator, a clergy person, and also a person that can help engage with the canvassing of the street. And so once an officer hits the scene, and they make a determination, they call back the dispatch, and they say, we need the ERT team dispatched in certain capacities. That team is then dispatched out to be able to help the officers, whether it's an issue with mental health, resources for the family, to get the children out of harm's way, or to de-escalate and become an interrupter of crime. That is the very first one. Executive Order number 3 has also been put in position, and it talks about there's a pre and post violent type of activity. Well, where violence just doesn't erupt out of anywhere. You know, it's placed into the minds and hearts of individuals through a growing period. But if you keep young people engaged in activities and other elements and teach them right very early on, they will understand how to engage a level of discourse without making it violent. So the youth portions of this has been engaged as well. Youth engagement activities. Flint Pal has been doing some wonderful things. Today we have flag football for young people. Also, a Cathedral of Faith under Pastor Chris Martin has been also a partner in this, and they have a youth programs where people are signing up now for youth activity and engagement. That is one of the components on it. And then we speak to other elements in the 6 orders, but they are available. All 6 are available on our webpage. And so, Chief, did you want to speak to any of the executive orders? Chief Green?
Just the one containing the emergency response team. I think that's very important to what we're trying to do here. I feel it's in alignment with our community-based initiative. But I think it's very important to basically break this cycle of violence that we're experiencing right now.
Right, and these are the proactive moves. And so we understand the country is having an uptick in crime all across our country. If you watch world news, you see it every single day. But this community, once again, is one of the first that has declared it as a local emergency in our country. We will continue to make those bold moves and those bold stands. And one of the things that we've done here in the city of Flint, as our officers are putting their life at risk every single day, trying to make sure that we have a comfortable, safe society to live in. When they take illegal weapons off of the street, those guns off the street, When I came into position, before this new administration has hit, when guns were confiscated by law enforcement officers, when illegal guns were confiscated, they were repopulated back into circulation because they went to auction. They sold the weapons. Every illegal weapon that was collected went to auction. We put a stop to it. We no longer sell weapons, or we're no longer de facto an arms dealer here in the city of Flint. Every weapon that we collect, illegal weapon that we collect, we destroy those weapons with the partnership of Michigan State Police. And Jerry, I know you have we have technical difficulties a little bit, but do you want to give us anything from your family, from your perspective, about what we need to continue to do and how we need to continue to support each other?
I just need the community to know that we are a part of the police department. I know a lot of times we think of them as maybe the enemy, but right now we need to come together. If you see something, you need to report it. It's so very important. And no matter which way, you can do it anonymously. You see police officers all the time. You know a police officer, somebody that knows a police officer, your family. If I see something wrong, really, really wrong, I'm going to turn you in, and everybody that I know knows that. But you need to be that person because you can't have people's family dying out on the street because somebody got mad for a moment. I love that you're involving psychiatrists and the clergy. It's a way for the community to feel safer, like they're a part of it. Everything that you're doing sounds incredible to me. It sounds like you're working in the right direction. There's no turning back for our family, of course, but we would love for Messiah to stand for safety for the children. And it's what's an old saying, that it takes a village to raise a child. Now it takes a village to be able to protect our children, and we just need to come together, no matter on city council, and that's why I called them and talked to them straight from my heart, is because we need to come together to stop this violence, no matter what it costs, no matter what. Protect our children, protect our city.
Absolutely, and that's why the declaration was made, to be able to bring additional resources into our community to be able to stop this cycle. Many times that we get sidetracked by politics, who we like, who we don't like, who we want in office, who we don't want in office. But these things are too valuable to risk. Our most precious assets are our children. The most precious asset we have is our children. We have to do everything in our power to protect them. And so whatever strife there may be out there, I need just the listeners to pay attention to this, the praying hearts of our community to pay attention to this. Listen to what the dialogue is going on. And if people are spewing hate, anger, malice, violence, if they're spewing that into the atmosphere, that lands somewhere. Usually it lands on our children. We need to cast that down and out and away from our families. Chief Green and I will be going out with community conversations starting as early as next week, Wednesday. We'll be going out making our rounds, talking about the American Rescue Plan dollars, as well as how these dollars can be used and executed upon to improve the quality of life. Chief Green, congratulations on the Clio Road corridor. Getting that under where we can actually use our tools and technology to be able to engage those negative individuals. Well, I want to, with this last minute, once again, we want to make sure you are aware, mask up, protect yourself. We will continue with our Facebook Burst program after our WFLT broadcast, but let's be positive in our engagements with one another. Let's work together. It's going to take a village to save a village. It's going to take all of us working together. And for all like thinkers, let's move ourselves forward and leave all the rest of those individuals behind that doesn't want to be making our community move forward. And so with that, I thank you, WFLT. I love you, Mom. And also, my wife's birthday, State Representative Cynthia Neely's birthday is tomorrow. I'm still looking for gift ideas. I'm still behind, but we will make it right. So happy birthday, State Representative Cynthia Neely. And I love you, Mom. God bless you guys. Stand by for the Facebook Burst program. All callers stand by. Jerry, I'm going to put you back into the regular line I'll call you right back from another phone to put you into the other system. I'll call you right back.
Okay.
Hello.
Yep, hold on. Okay, guys, we're here for our Facebook Burst program, and we're just going to quickly go through some of the things that we're going and what's happening this week. This week we have declared a state of emergency for gun violence. Also, it was great news this week. The governor came to the city of Flint to talk about the entrepreneurs. Also, the head of MEDC, Michigan Economic Development Corporation, also came to the city of Flint announcing some great news. And so we have news about housing and dollars being placed toward housing, how we're going to be using and executing on some of those American Rescue Plan dollars from the state of Michigan and also our own local coffers. But we had some great news this week, and also we had some really moving pieces talking about how we're going to be engaging this gun violence emergency in our community. First, it starts with us. It starts at home. We have to work with our children, work with our young people, use the assets that we have currently to make sure that our families are protected and make sure we pour into our children all the necessary things they need to be great, productive citizens. And on the line with us now, we have Jerry, Messiah Williams' grandmother. Messiah Williamson, a little more than a year and a half ago, fell victim to gun violence. A 3-year-old baby, and Messiah was just not her grandchild, but he was everybody's child. He was my son. He was Chief Green's son. He was our future, and we know not what potential Messiah could have poured into our community, being the next president, a lawyer, a doctor, because the gun violence erupted, and Messiah fell victim to it. And so we have a challenge and a duty and responsibility to say his name and remember his name, and not let his death be in vain. And so we're championing new laws throughout the state of Michigan. And we're also making sure that this should never happen to another family or another child again. And so with that said, Chief Green, you and I were there pretty early on after this tragedy happened. And I know, Chief, you were very upset as I was, as we talked pre going to different type of events and activities. And so this sparked us to really engage this gun violence in our community to be able to do something. And so, Chief, did you want to talk a little bit about what's going on in the declaration of the gun emergency?
Well, yes. This declaration won't allow us to procure additional resources, partner with wraparound services, and also just better serve the community. And with the ultimate goal is to break this cycle of violence, because we are in a gun violence crisis as we speak. It appears to be trending upwards. So I'm looking forward to this declaration, to doing everything possible in order to break this cycle of violence, which is well needed. As everyone has stated, Messiah Williams, it was a tragedy. It affected me deeply to this day. I want to avoid this happening to any other parent, grandparent. So this declaration is definitely going to help, and we're going to keep moving forward until we break this cycle of violence.
Right, and it took 8 hours and an 8-hour council meeting to be able to get that to be extended, so we will continue to be able to get the resources that's necessary to work with our partners. And I talk about the patrol officer. Once they hit the scene, people don't really understand that the patrol officers are people as well. They don't have superpowers. They're there to perform a service, and sometimes when they get to a scene, it's overwhelming. And when you see multiple officers at the scene, it's because we have to be able to control that scene in many different ways. We talk about when the current engagement of the law enforcement officers there on the scene, they have to do certain things. But post that, there's a level of investigation that has to happen. With these executive orders, we have put additional resources into cold cases. Cold cases meaning that we got to go, if the crime is not resolved in the first 48 or so, we have to be able to continue the level of investigation, but that takes manpower, that takes resources. And so we want to be able to make our cold case investigation and give more opportunity to get these criminals off the street. Because if they did a crime once and got away with it, it's more chances that they will commit a similar type crime. And so we have to go chase them. We have to go hunting for them. And then also when you have victims and the family of victims, they want to have a level of engagement. They want to know what's going on. They're very concerned about what's going on. And so what we have was we're going to recreate a victim advocacy program to whereby when the person is involved in being a victim of a crime or being a family member of a person who was involved in a victim of a crime, they usually try to call the detective to figure out the updates, what's going on with the case, how many leads have you found, how are you doing this? But then it takes a little bit more time of that detective versus doing the detective work trying to seek out and hunt the criminals down. They have to respond to it, and it's justified that families want to have that level of engagement. So what we do is put a victim advocate program in position to be able to take the phone calls, take the information from a family member, and provide family members or victims of crime information, and then they can communicate with the police department, detectives on their behalf, and that way we can more efficiently move forward. Serving all ends, making sure information gets to the family. And so that is one of the executive orders that we have. Also, when we talk about mental health, we all have been traumatized in this country, and there's some outcome of being traumatized. We all have to seek a little bit of therapy, whether it be just internal, externally, with our family members, but the severity of trauma takes hold of us differently. And so we have mental health challenges here in this community. And so we have to identify those things. So putting all these pieces into position are all good things. And so we can't allow discourse, political discourse, interrupt what's going to happen to help the community. And so, Dr. Reynolds, did you want to weigh in on any of this? Because I know you're trained, very well trained, not only in the medical profession, but there was a lot of cross-training for psychological impacted individuals, and also being an advocate for as a pediatrician for young people. Did you want to weigh in on this?
Oh, yes. I'd like to talk about depression. If you recall, on Juneteenth, a young lady shot in a crowd, and the police officer had to respond. Sometimes we have to know that someone in our family is depressed. And I'm the son of a police officer, so I'll tell you, there's an expression, suicide by cop. When it makes no sense to do something, that's when it happens. And so those of us around those people must disarm those folks and keep them safe and take them to seek care. Because not only are we protecting that family member or friend, we are protecting our community. So when you see signs of depression, disengagement from surroundings, not talking, not eating, sleep disruptions, and in teens, depression shows up as aggressive behavior because there's this feeling that cannot be channeled and it converts to anger. If you see that, bring your child in, seek psychological care, seek therapy, because as I've said earlier, if you're hungry, angry, lonely, or tired, those are not the times to make life-saving decisions. And yes, there are other mental health issues that manifest in the late teens. One is called schizophrenia, where people become paranoid. If you see paranoid behavior, people are plotting against me, that person is going to do something. Seek care for that person. It's important that we address our mental health issues. And so these are just the basic things, but don't be ashamed to seek psychological, mental health, or psychiatric services for yourself, your family, or your loved one. And if you see someone acting totally different, sit them down, talk with them.
Yeah, absolutely. And Dr. Furholden, I know you're here, and we've been talking about this, and do you want to talk a little bit about it? Because we all have been touched at some point in time in our lives by gun violence and the aftermath of that. Do you want to talk about it a little bit?
Yeah, the thing about gun violence is it is preventable. You know, a lot of the conditions under which people make some of these choices and a lot of the negative consequences that come out of violence, we can do something about it. You know, and I like these 6 orders that you've put in place because, you know, they are evidence informed, but they're also community driven. You know, I don't think that the responsibility of solving violence in our community doesn't rise or fall on any one person's shoulder. There's no one group, whether it be the police or pastors or elected officials, who can solve the problem. But if we come together and bring these strategies together that we know work, I really appreciate that Chief Green has said what we won't do is over police our communities. What we won't do is, you know, just rain down on everybody for everything. The data tell us that doesn't even work anyway. You know, so I think the direction that we're headed in, it's where we need to be going. And I just encourage people, you know, take responsibility and take ownership of your own community. You know, I always tell people you can't be a snitch unless you were in on it. You know, and I know it's a hard thing for people to battle with because, you know, in one respect, if you say something, you're supposed to do something.
Right.
But then in another respect, people fear retaliation and things like that. But the reality of it is, if we don't work together and if people don't speak up, then bad actors will continue and people who need supports won't get them. So I actually think you're doing people a favor when we say something.
Right, absolutely. And Jerry, you know, you've been witnessing and listening to this call as we talk about these executive orders. What is your take on things?
I think that it's just, you know, when you get in violence, a lot of people become scared and they don't want to get involved because they're frightened about it. But I just think that it's so important to be involved, and not in a negative way, like I've been hearing. That's beautiful. I don't think each and every one of us understands how our negativity can affect another person. Just like I used the saying one time, like, if you're at a stoplight and the light turns green and the person doesn't automatically take off and you honk the horn at them, you just don't even know what they're going through. You never know what another person is going through. Be patient, be kind, be understanding. If your neighbor does something wrong, maybe have a conversation with them. Maybe their grandchild got killed or what, you know, whatever. You just don't know what goes on in another person's mind. And maybe they just need a little bit of kindness. They need a little helping hand. But if the community would come together, it would be such a beautiful thing. And just be aware of how you treat another person affects them. I know from looking into Messiah's death that there was many signs along the way after we looked back at it that I'm not sure we could have prevented it, but just understanding other people and getting involved. If someone had gotten involved with them, they may not have been so angry. It's not always going to work like that, but kindness, it goes so far that you just don't even understand how far it goes. And just be kind to one another and a helping hand. I'm not saying to give to like the guy that stands on the corner, but maybe your neighbor needs help mowing their grass or going out to the mailbox because they broke their leg, whatever. If you see something, just try to react in a kind way instead of getting angry. And I think that your executive orders are saying that to me because you're saying that you're trying to get, you know, psychologists involved and clergy involved. And I think that it's just a wonderful thing. I hope that it works. Even if it works for 10 people, it's worth every bit of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And we talk about these things and, you know, it's just very difficult. You know, we have these life engagements right now. The city of Flint is in the crosshairs. You know, we have this deadly virus, COVID-19. Every week for the last year, I've been trying to advocate for people to save their lives and advocate for them to protect their families by getting vaccinated, by getting tested, by masking up, by social distancing, by washing their hands. And then when I think about it deeply, he says, man, I'm really working hard to be able to tell people how to preserve their own lives or help themselves. And it's been a very, very difficult, road trying to get people to convince them. And many people have not even taken the vaccination. And I even have some family members, extended family members, that says that we don't want to take the vaccine. We don't believe in this. And then And then I've got a call from my out-of-state relative that says one of those family members that refused to take the vaccine now has COVID, right? And you say, well, we did everything to try to educate and try to push them forward. Even with this gun violence and the violence, and we talk about hostilities and not being able to have a level of discourse without a violent eruption is very, very challenging sometimes. But how do you do that? And how do you continue to try to be advocate for people to advocate for themselves and their families to do so? So I thank all of the partners that we have. I thank all of those individuals that's been out there. And Jay, I want to thank you for helping us get this through to some city council members because an 8-hour meeting just with this as a sole subject on the agenda, one subject, 8 hours about elements of violence inside the city of Flint. It's mind-boggling to me that it took that long to be able to say that we have a problem here that we need to engage inside the city, and that says that people are prioritizing different things above life and preservation of life in our communities, and so to me those are all mental health illnesses in my view, in my estimation of it. And so Dr. Reynolds, I know you always have a great word, a calming word to be able to try to explain some of the things that I just described in a way that gets me to be able to look at it from a different perspective, to be able to better understand or not understand the dysfunction. Can you help me there, Dr. Reynolds?
Well, as a pediatrician, I must start with prevention first. If you have a weapon in your house, it should be locked up in a cabinet. If you don't have a cabinet, you should have a trigger lock. There's various products you can get, and they're cheap and they're effective. And you should keep that weapon unloaded and your ammunition somewhere else, and definitely out of the reach of children. When you have someone in your household who's going through something, you know they're hanging with the wrong crowd, you know they're angry, you suspect they have a substance abuse or alcohol problem, keep weapons away from them. And as I said earlier, encourage them to get treatment. Take them to get treatment. Sit down and talk with them. Keep an eye on them until you can get them to appropriate treatment. And sometimes you have to call for emergency services. But that can head off a violent episode. Then we have to look at our behavior at a scene of a shooting or a murder. And that is, people gather around like they're watching a movie. Let us remain cool-headed. Pull people back from the scene. The detectives and the officers will start canvassing the neighborhood to find out what's going on. We don't need to add one grudge onto another grudge. And that's why it's so important. We must watch ourselves. We must govern our behavior and the behavior of our children, because that is where we have some control.
Right, and I want to thank our partners, Man Up, and also individuals out there that's going to be joining with us. I want to also reach out to Cathedral of Faith for engaging the youth programs that we're going to be having, and all those clergymen that agreed to be a part of this. Pastor Moore, Pastor Hawkins, which his family has experienced gun violence and losing 2 of his children to gun violence. And so we want to just thank those partners moving forward, And so as we work and fight to get our resources that's necessary to give Chief Green the tools and the talent, when I say talent, meaning that the recruitment and also for officers making lateral transfers in to be able to do these things. And so we're working very hard, but we cannot be distracted. Our focus should not be detoured by other people with different agendas. And so as we work through these things, we're going to continue to engage people. We're going to have our community conversations starting this upcoming week with people. But with that, Jerry, I'm going to give you the last word, and I'm going to go out to try to find my wife a birthday gift. And so if you have any great suggestions at the tail end of your statement of what I can actually go out and grab her, but definitely I'm going to take at least a half a day off tomorrow. So I'm going to go to a few open houses that congratulating young people about graduating from high school. But after that, I'm going to be solely with the wife for the rest of the weekend. So, Jerry, you want to close us out?
Well, I'd like to say that your wife is a very busy, and she has a high stressful job. So maybe a day spa, let her get some relaxation if she could fit that in. I'm not sure, but otherwise, women always, most women love jewelry is a good one. But I say let your woman de-stress because she definitely needs it. But I was thinking that with what you're doing, and it all just sounds so wonderful, but education is the key, and positivity, and it's hard to stay positive, especially when you get depressed. But maybe you could set up something. I know school is getting back in, and a lot of the schools in Flint have officers stationed at them, and the kids and the parents are not happy with it most of the time because they're there to stop violence. Maybe we should do some education with the police officers, and even start in your elementary. Get the officers to know that the police aren't there to dog them out and try to find out what they're doing wrong, but they're there for them, and they're there to keep them safe. And maybe have some just auditorium talks with the police officers. I know that you guys are very busy doing what you got to do. When you talk about the advocacy, or the having someone work with the detectives, maybe they could go out and explain the process to them, and what is going on. And we've got school starting back. Education is so very important, and I think that a lot of our kids are missing it, and we need to get back to educating them, and it's the key.
Yeah. Chief Green, Chief Green, any words?
Only when you're selecting a present for Mrs. Neely, don't be your normal cheap self. Open up the pocketbook. She deserves it. That's my final word.
I knew he would get that in on Dr. Reynolds, but Dr. Reynolds, you keep a happy wife, you have a happy life. So I'm going to lean into to you, and not that bachelor, our chief of police. That's been this. He's been a serial, bachelor for all of his life. So, but so to a man that's been married for a long time, Dr. Reynolds, can you help me?
Oh yes, I heard jewelry mentioned, and nowadays I don't go shopping. My wife has a list at the jewelry store, and on certain important dates, they call me and send me a photo of what she wants, and I just say, wrap it up. So it may not help you, and it will help you in the future.
All right, a jury list in waiting. Just that's awesome. So I won't be my normal frugal self or budget specialist as it relates to this. I know I have Dr. Furholden. Dr. Furholden, any advice?
Frugal. You could also do something that's like more service oriented and that comes to her. They got little services. You can hire somebody, a little chef to come in, make you a nice romantic dinner. Y'all could have a deck date. You're not out in all the harm's way, and throw one of those gifts or to wrap it up like Dr. Reynolds say, have something like that there. But you could also do a little grown and sexy thing where she's taken care of.
Absolutely. Matter of fact, I'm gonna take all suggestions. I'm gonna take them all. So we're gonna do that. But I definitely want to make sure that people understand. Life is life, and when you no longer have it, it's not there. And usually, when you're stricken with a health issue or some other thing, it's a sobering effect, because many times we become so intoxicated with this thing called life that we miss out on the real important things. And we talk about sharing time with one another, spending time with our families, raising our children. Those are the really magnificent and important things in our life, and that's what God would have us engage in. Enjoying one another, creating new friendships and new kinships. We all are unique and we all are different. And so let's look for the things that we have in common and we can enjoy one another. That is what we need to do more in this community, and all things will fall into place. If we find those enjoyable things and make those things a priority in our lives, we will see less stress, less strife, less envy, less greed. We will see those things, those potent emotions that usually causes outbreaks and violence. And so with that, I want to thank you as your mayor. Continue to be engaged, continue to pay attention, continue to stay focused. And I want to thank you, Jerry, and you and your family. You are always in our prayers. You gifted me with a toy that was Messiah's toy, and that toy sits in my office right on my shelf. And every day when I come to my office, I see it. When I leave my office, I see it. So he will not be forgotten. And I know the state representative, Cynthia Neely, also was gifted with one, and she has it in her office. And so we will continue to champion and fight for the memory of Messiah to be able to push forward and require safety for all of our children out here in this community. So with that, guys, God bless. I'm off to the mall. Chief Green, I need a loan, so I'll be coming by your house first to pick something up. How about that? Okay. All right. God bless, guys, and thank you for joining us for our Facebook First program. Engage. Bye-bye.